Alien Queen saw me shirtless. Now she demands nightly inspections. Your epidermal layer displays unusual vascular reactivity under duress. Quite pronounced. Jake froze, one arm halfway into a clean thermal shirt, the other clutching the worn fabric over his chest like a shield. He slowly turned towards the voice, cool, precise, and definitely not human. Standing in the doorway of his cramped, sterile quarters aboard the Cathar mothership was Queen Xyler herself. All 7 feet of her. Great, just freaking great. Intergalactic peep show starring yours truly. She was exactly as imposing as the rumors described. Skin like polished obsidian, shot through with veins of iridescent color that seemed to swirl slowly beneath the surface. High cheekbones, large dark eyes that lacked pupils, and 2 delicate, feathery antennae sprouting from just above her temples, quivering slightly now. She wore shimmering, dark robes that somehow managed to look both regal and severely practical. He was just shirtless, and sweaty from the sonic shower decontamination cycle, and probably blushing like a damn tomato. Way to make a first impression, Miller, half naked and looking like a startled hamster. Your Majesty, he managed, trying to sound respectful and not like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. He hastily pulled the shirt the rest of the way on. I wasn't expecting anyone. Xyler tilted her head, the movement fluid and unnervingly graceful. The iridescent patterns on her skin shifted, flowing like oil on water. My vessel, my schedule, Sergeant Miller. I wish to observe the settling in process for our guest. Guest feels generous, more like potentially hazardous biological specimen. Right, settling, it's sterile, Jake offered lamely, gesturing vaguely at the blank metallic walls. Very clean, top marks for cleanliness. Smooth, Miller, real smooth. Her dark eyes scanned him from head to toe, lingering for a moment on his chest, even through the thin shirt. The preliminary physiological scans indicated anomalies. Your species exhibits significant surface temperature fluctuations in response to stimuli. I deemed a direct visual confirmation necessary. Jake swallowed. Anomalies like being embarrassed half to death by an alien queen while half-dressed. Increased heart rate, dermal flushing, changes in respiration, she listed coolly. Your body's involuntary responses are quite expressive. Her antennae twitched again. Expressive. Lady, you have mood ring skin and feeler things on your head. Just surprised, Your Majesty, Jake said, trying for casual. Not every day a guy gets visited by royalty mid-change. A flicker of something unreadable crossed her face. Was that amusement, or just gas digestion? Hard to tell with aliens. Henceforth I shall require regular assessments to monitor your acclimation, daily, post-evening nutrient cycle. Jake's jaw tightened. Assessments like more scans, please say scans. Visual and tactile, she clarified, her gaze unwavering. To properly document the human physiological baseline and reactions to environmental stimuli. Your shirtlessness during the initial observation was illuminating. Oh, hell no. Tactile, he squeaked, then cleared his throat. I mean, Your Majesty, is that really necessary? I'm just a basic human soldier. Precisely, Xyler said, as if that explained everything. Your basic biology is entirely novel to us. We must understand it thoroughly, especially the vascular reactivity. She means the blushing, doesn't she? She wants to poke me until I turn red. This is some weird alien kink, I swear. With all due respect, Queen Xyler, Jake tried again, forcing politeness through gritted teeth, I'm not exactly comfortable being tactilely assessed, especially daily, without my shirt. Her antennae vibrated, a low hum filling the air for a second. Your comfort is noted, Sergeant Miller. It is, however, secondary to Cathar's scientific and security protocols. We must ensure you pose no biological threat and understand your species' needs. She paused. Consider it part of your duties, as our guest. Duties, right, official poke specimen. My quarters post-evening nutrient cycle, she repeated firmly. Do not be late. And with another swirling shift of her iridescent skin, she turned and swept out of his doorway, leaving Jake standing there, feeling simultaneously violated, confused, and oddly flushed again. Nightly inspections, Tactile, Shirtless. This is going to be a long trip. The next evening cycle felt like waiting for a dentist appointment combined with a strip search. Jake paced his small room, trying to work up the nerve, or at least the resignation, for the inevitable. He'd eaten the bland nutrient paste they called dinner, showered again, fully clothed this time, thank you very much, and now just waited. Maybe she forgot. Maybe there was a coup. Maybe a rogue asteroid decided to introduce itself to her personal chambers. Wishful thinking. Exactly on schedule, the door hissed open. Xyler stood there, flanked by two Cathar guards who looked even taller and grimmer than her, if that was possible. They remained outside. "Sergeant Miller," she greeted, her tone neutral. "You are prepared for the Clinar assessment." Clinar assessment sounds so much more official than "let's poke the human," "as I'll ever be, Your Majesty." She stepped inside, the door closing behind her. The room suddenly felt much smaller. She carried a small, metallic device that hummed faintly. "Remove your upper garment." Jake sighed inwardly but complied, pulling off his shirt and tossing it onto the narrow bunk. He stood there awkwardly, arms crossed, then uncrossed. "Just stand still. Don't fidget, don't blush." Her dark eyes surveyed him with unnerving focus. The iridescent patterns on her skin swirled slowly, like deep space nebulae. Initial state appears less agitated than previously observed. "That's because I was expecting it this time. Still feels weird as hell though. Just trying to cooperate, Your Majesty." She approached, stopping barely an arm's length away. He could feel a faint coolness radiating from her. Definitely not human body temperature. "Extend your arm." He held out his right arm. She raised the humming device, scanning it slowly from his shoulder to his wrist. A holographic display shimmered above it, showing Cathar symbols and fluctuating graphs. Heart rate elevated, but within expected parameters for interspecies proximity, she murmured, mostly to herself. Dermal temperature slightly above baseline. Probably because an alien queen is 2 feet away and about to touch me. "Now the tactile component," she announced, setting the scanner aside on the small shelf. She reached out a long-fingered hand towards his bare arm. Her skin wasn't just obsidian dark. It had a texture, almost like polished stone but yielding slightly. Her touch was startling. Cold, but not unpleasantly so. More like cool marble, yet underneath there was a strange, faint vibration, like a barely suppressed energy. His skin prickled where she made contact. "Whoa, okay, that is different." He couldn't help but glance at her face. Her expression was intent, focused. But her antennae were vibrating more rapidly now, the feathery tips almost blurring. And the colors under her skin, they were swirling faster, brighter, with flashes of electric blue and deep violet erupting within the usual dark flow. Is she reacting to this? Is touching my arm doing something to her? Her fingers traced the line of a vein on his forearm. Vascular structures remain prominent. Your circulatory system is remarkably close to the surface here. Yeah, human thing, I guess," Jake mumbled, acutely aware of her cool touch, the strange hum from her antennae, the light show happening on her skin. His own heart rate was definitely ticking up again. Damn it, stop reacting. She moved her hand to his bicep, her grip surprisingly strong but gentle. Muscle density consistent with scan data, residual scar tissue here. Her thumb brushed over a faint white line, a souvenir from basic training. "Yeah, training accident," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Xyler paused, her thumb lingering on the scar. The swirling colors on her skin intensified, concentrating around her hand and forearm. The vibration under her skin seemed stronger. He could almost feel it humming against his own arm. From Zyler's perspective, the contact was unexpected. The human's biosignature pulsed against her palm, warm and erratic. Touching him sent a cascade of sensory data through her Cathar nervous system, temperature differentials, microelectric fields, the unique protein markers of his species. And beneath it all, a faint but distinct resonance. A zhao. Faint, yes, but undeniable. It vibrated up her arm, causing her own bioluminescence to flare involuntarily. It was intriguing. And potentially problematic. She withdrew her hand abruptly, the sudden absence of contact leaving Jake's skin tingling. The light show on her skin subsided slightly, though her antennae still quivered. "Assessment parameters logged," she stated, her voice perhaps a fraction less cool than before. "Sufficient data acquired for this cycle." "That felt shorter than I expected, and way weirder, so we're done." "For this cycle," she confirmed, picking up her scanner. "Maintain your nutrient and rest schedule. Report any physiological anomalies immediately." "Will do, Your Majesty," like suddenly developing mood ring skin. She gave him one last, lingering look, her dark eyes unreadable, before turning and exiting the room. The guards fell into step behind her. Jake let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding, sinking onto the edge of his bunk. He looked down at his arm where she'd touched him. It still felt weird, tingly, and cold. Okay, so the nightly inspections are real, and they involve glowing skin, vibrating antennae, and a touch that feels like a science experiment mixed with a weird energy buzz. He ran a hand through his hair. This is definitely not in any standard first contact manual. The Clinar assessments became a bizarre nightly ritual. Jake would stand there shirtless, trying very hard to think about baseball scores or unfiled tax returns while Zyler scanned and occasionally touched him. Her reactions continued, the swirling skin, the vibrating antennae, the cool touch that sent shivers down his spine despite its temperature. He started noticing things. The specific shades her skin shifted to, blues and violets when she seemed focused or analytical, flashes of emerald green when something surprised her, like the time he accidentally sneezed, and a deep crimson that pulsed slowly when the ship encountered minor turbulence. It's like a living mood indicator. Wonder what color means annoyed at the shirtless human, probably plaid. Their conversations during these assessments were stilted, mostly her observations and his terse replies. But outside of them, their paths crossed occasionally. He was assigned light duties, assisting a Cathar botanist in the ship's hydroponics bay, running diagnostics on some archaic human interface-compatible systems in engineering. It was busy work, clearly designed to keep him occupied and observed. One cycle, he found himself working late in the auxiliary engineering bay, trying to coax a translation matrix into recognizing Earth-standard data protocols. It was tedious, frustrating work. "Come on, you piece of junk. Just talk to the nice alien computer." The door hissed open and Zyler entered, alone this time. She wasn't wearing her heavy robes but a simpler, dark tunic and trousers that allowed for easier movement. The iridescent patterns on her skin seemed calmer, swirling gently. "Sergeant Miller, still laboring." Jake jumped slightly, startled. "Your Majesty, yeah, this old converter unit is being stubborn. And why are you here? Did you run out of things to poke?" She walked over, observing the console display. Her antennae twitched as she scanned the alien script flowing beside the garbled English translations. "The energy modulation is incompatible with Cathar resonant frequencies. It requires a dampening field." She reached past him, her cool fingers brushing his arm as she manipulated the holographic controls projected above the console. Instantly, the garbled text resolved into clear English. "Well, damn, show-off. Thanks, Your Majesty, I was getting nowhere." "Efficiency is paramount," she replied, withdrawing her hand, but her gaze lingered on the console, then shifted to him. "You have technical aptitude." "Some. Used to be a systems tech before." "Well, before." before being the sole survivor of a recon mission that stumbled onto the Cathar scouting fleet. Doesn't really matter now, does it? Interesting, she murmured. The colors on her skin warmed slightly, shifting towards green. Your military designation did not emphasize technical skills. Guess they missed a memo, Jake shrugged. Or maybe they just needed someone to stand around and get poked. He hadn't meant to say that last part aloud. Idiot. Zyler's antennae went still for a beat. Then a low hum started and the colors swirled faster. Was that? Crimson again. The Clinar assessments serve a vital purpose, Sergeant. Right, science, security, poking. He sighed, leaning back against the console. Look, Your Majesty, I get it. I'm the alien. You need to make sure I'm not going to suddenly sprout tentacles or leak space cooties everywhere. But the nightly performance, it feels invasive, she finished for him. The crimson deepened. Yeah, a little. Okay, a lot. She turned fully towards him, her expression unreadable, but the light show on her skin was undeniable. Among my people, Sergeant, physical assessment is a sign of care, concern, ensuring the well-being of another, understanding their state. It is not meant as a violation. Jake blinked. Touching someone shirtless is caring. Cultural differences are weirder than I thought. Verifying thermal stability, muscle tension, biosignature resonance. These are indicators of health and emotional state for Cathar, she explained patiently. Your human signals are different, cruder perhaps, but the principle is similar. The flushing, the heart rate, they speak, even if your words do not. So she's not just being creepy, she's trying to read me like a Cathar health monitor. That's almost weirder. So the vascular reactivity isn't just interesting, it tells you something. It indicates heightened emotional states. Surprise, agitation, perhaps. She hesitated, the colors swirling intensely. Other responses, like finding the alien queen unexpectedly hot despite the cold skin and antennae. Nah, couldn't be. Right, Jake said quickly. Well, thanks for the clarification and the help with the converter. An awkward silence hung between them, filled only by the hum of the ship and the faint vibration from Zyler's antennae. Perhaps, she said finally, her voice softer, a different approach is warranted for interspecies understanding. Oh, like maybe keeping my shirt on. This vessel will soon pass through the Zephyr Nebula, she continued. Navigational adjustments require precise calculations. Your technical skills might prove useful in optimizing the older human interface backup systems. Jake raised an eyebrow. You want me to help navigate? Your assistance would be beneficial, she admitted. Report to the auxiliary bridge tomorrow cycle. Okay, that's new, actual work, not just being Exhibit A. Your Majesty, I'll be there. She nodded, the crimson on her skin slowly receding, replaced by cooler blues and violets. See that you are. She turned and left, leaving Jake alone with the now-functioning converter and a whole new level of confusion. So, touching is caring, blushing is talking, and now I'm helping drive the spaceship. This just keeps getting weirder. Working on the auxiliary bridge was intense. It wasn't the main command center, but a secondary hub filled with older tech, some Cathar, some salvaged, including the human systems Zyler wanted optimized for the nebula passage. It required focus, calculation, and working in surprisingly close proximity to Zyler, who oversaw the operation directly. Days bled into nights, marked only by the ship's chronometers and the delivery of nutrient paste. The nightly assessments continued, but they felt different now. Less clinical, still awkward, yes, but overlaid with a new layer of shared purpose from their work on the bridge. Sometimes her touch lingered a fraction longer. Sometimes he didn't immediately look away when her eyes met his. Okay, Miller, focus. Energy matrix, not swirling skin patterns. One particularly long work cycle, after wrestling with a stubborn navigation buffer for hours, they found themselves alone on the auxiliary bridge. The rest of the small crew had rotated out for their rest cycle. Empty nutrient packs littered a nearby console. Jake stretched, groaning as his back popped. I think my brain is turning into that nutrient paste. Xyler was observing the star charts projected in the main holotank. The calculations are holding. Your adjustments to the buffer protocols were effective. High praise from the Ice Queen. Just happy I could help pull our butts out of the nebula fire, Your Majesty. She turned from the charts, a faint smile touching her lips. It was a rare sight, and it made the colors on her cheekbones flare with a soft, golden light. Indeed, though I believe the appropriate human idiom is pull our chestnuts. Jake chuckled. Close enough. He leaned back in his chair. You know, for someone who runs a giant spaceship and commands an entire fleet, you know a weird amount of human idioms. Understanding potential allies or enemies requires studying their communication, she replied simply. The golden glow faded slightly. My predecessor initiated contact protocols with several dozen species, including Terrans before the Scourge. He sobered. The Scourge. He'd heard whispers, a hostile, consuming force that had pushed the Cathar from their original systems, forcing them into this nomadic fleet existence. That's why you're out here, running. Her expression tightened, the blues and violets returning to her skin. We are seeking a new home, a place safe from the Scourge's reach. It is my duty, my burden. There was a vulnerability in her voice, in the way her antennae drooped almost imperceptibly, that cut through Jake's remaining defenses. She wasn't just a cold, calculating queen. She was carrying the weight of her entire species' survival. Damn, that's a lot. Must be tough, he said quietly, being queen, making all the calls. It is the Cathar way, she stated, but the certainty in her voice wavered slightly. Leadership is service. Solitude is often its price. An idea sparked in Jake's tired brain, fueled by caffeine patches and sleep deprivation. You know, back on Earth, when people are stressed or need to build trust, sometimes they play a game, truth or dare. Xyler tilted her head. Explain this truth or dare. Simple, one person asks the other truth or dare. If they pick truth, they have to answer a question honestly. If they pick dare, they have to do something the asker tells them to do within reason, obviously. Probably should skip the dare part with royalty. An exchange of vulnerability and command, she mused. Intriguing. Her antennae twitched. Very well, Sergeant Miller. I shall indulge your human ritual, truth or dare. Jake grinned, surprised she'd agreed. Okay, truth. Her dark eyes pinned him. Why do you truly resist the Clinar assessments, beyond mere discomfort? Crap straight for the jugular, he hesitated. Because it feels unequal. You're assessing me, reading my reactions, but I know nothing about yours, except the light show. She considered this, the colors swirling thoughtfully. A fair observation, your turn. Truth or dare? Jake asked. Truth. Okay, he took a breath. What was the Zhao? Her antennae went rigid. The colors on her skin flared violently, crimson, violet, electric blue, all warring for dominance. You perceived the Zhao. Her voice was tight. The what? No, I just heard you mention the word once to yourself, I think, during an assessment. Sounded important. Okay, maybe I felt a weird buzz, but admitting that seems unwise. Xyler took a slow, deliberate breath. The chaotic colors subsided into a deep, swirling violet. Zhao is a Cathar term. It signifies bioresonant compatibility, an involuntary energy exchange between two individuals whose biosignatures align on a fundamental level. It is rare. Bioresonant compatibility, energy exchange, so that was a weird buzz I felt. So you felt that with me. The signal was faint, she deflected, not quite meeting his eyes. Human biology presents unique resonant frequencies. Further analysis is required. She drew herself up. My turn, truth or dare? Truth, Jake said, his heart hammering a little faster now. Bioresonant compatibility. What the hell does that mean? Aside from the perceived inequality, Zyler asked, her gaze intense, do the assessments elicit any other response in you, Sergeant Miller, beyond agitation? He swallowed. This was it. Honesty time. Well, hell, yeah, he admitted quietly. Curiosity, and sometimes it's not entirely unpleasant. He could feel his face heating up. Great, here comes the vascular reactivity. Her antennae vibrated strongly. A soft crimson pulsed under her skin, warm and slow. Curiosity, she repeated softly. Acknowledged. A klaxon suddenly blared through the ship, harsh and demanding. Red alert lights flashed, bathing the auxiliary bridge in urgent pulses. Report, Zyler snapped, instantly the Queen again, her personal reaction vanishing beneath layers of command presence. A panicked Cathar voice crackled over the intercom. Unidentified vessels, multiple contacts closing fast, Scourge energy signatures detected. Zyler and Jake exchanged a look. The game was over. The real threat was here. Well, crap. Chaos erupted. The ship shuddered as weapons fire impacted the shields. Consoles sparked. Alarms wailed. Zyler was a whirlwind of controlled energy, issuing rapid-fire commands in the sharp, clicking Cathar language, her skin blazing with battle hues of crimson and stark white. Jake, momentarily stunned, shook it off. His old training kicked in. What can I do? He yelled over the din. Zyler pointed to a damaged power conduit sparking dangerously near the main nav computer. Stabilize that junction. If we lose navigation, we're blind. Jake didn't hesitate. He grabbed a toolkit, yanking out a plasma welder and insulation patches. Dodging falling ceiling panels and ignoring the tremor of nearby explosions, he worked quickly, rerouting power through secondary circuits, slapping patches over the spitting wires. Sparks flew inches from his face. Just like old times, except the enemy ships probably actually have tentacles. He got the conduit stabilized just as a massive jolt threw him off his feet. The lights flickered, died, then came back on at half power under the emergency system. The main holotank fizzled out. Shields at 30%, a Cathar officer shouted. Hull breach Sector 7, weapons offline. Zyler gripped the command console, her knuckles white. Her skin was now a storm of agitated violet and gray. Divert all remaining power to engines and aft shields. Prepare for evasive maneuver Z9. Maneuver Z9 requires manual targeting compensation. Another officer cried out. The primary system is down. Jake looked at the dead holotank, then at the sparking auxiliary console he'd been working on earlier. The backup system. I know how it works. Zyler locked eyes with him. Trust flickered there beneath the desperation. Do it, Sergeant. He scrambled to the auxiliary console, fingers flying over the controls he now knew intimately. He bypassed the fried main links, routing targeting data through the old human interface he'd optimized. It was clunky, slow, but it worked. Targeting solution uploading. Now. Execute, Zyler commanded. The ship lurched violently as the engines flared, throwing them into a sharp, unpredictable turn just as another volley of enemy fire impacted where they'd been moments before. They'd bought themselves a few precious seconds. Damage report, Zyler demanded. Aft shields holding barely, engine core stable. Enemy vessels regrouping for another pass. Zyler scanned the flickering tactical display. They're boxing us in. We can't outrun them and we can't outfight them. Her antennae drooped again, the colors on her skin dimming to a dull, defeated gray. Options exhausted. Jake looked at her, seeing not the Queen but the leader pushed to the brink. He thought about the Zhao, the bioresonance, the way her skin reacted. An idea, crazy and desperate, formed. Maybe not, he said, stepping closer. You said Cathar biosignatures have energy, right? Resonance. She looked at him, confused. Yes, but... And the ship systems respond to Cathar frequencies. Naturally, they are attuned. What if, Jake interrupted, his heart pounding, what if you boosted that, focused your own bioenergy? Could you create some kind of pulse, an EMP maybe, enough to disrupt their targeting systems for a few seconds? Xyler stared at him. The gray on her skin shifted, uncertainty warring with a flicker of Cathar blue. Theoretically possible, the energy required would be immense, dangerous, potentially lethal to the emitter. More lethal than sitting here waiting for them, Jake countered. He met her gaze steadily. You said touching me you felt the zhao, a resonance. Maybe I can help, ground you, boost the signal. Her eyes widened almost imperceptibly. The colors on her skin swirled rapidly. You propose a direct bioenergetic link with a human. Got a better idea? Jake asked, trying to sound braver than he felt. This is insane. What am I even saying? Another hit rocked the ship. More alarms screamed. Xyler looked from the failing tactical display to Jake's determined face. Duty, survival, and something else, that faint, persistent zhao. She made a decision. Very well, Sergeant, she said, her voice low but firm. Prepare yourself. This will not be comfortable. She grasped his hands. Her skin was colder than ever, almost icy, yet humming with that powerful, contained energy. The zhao flared between them, stronger this time, a tangible buzz that vibrated up Jake's arms and into his chest, making his teeth ache. Focus your intent with mine, Xyler instructed, her eyes closing. Her antennae stood rigid, vibrating intensely. Channel the resonance, become the conduit. Okay, conduit, be the conduit, whatever the hell that means. Jake closed his eyes, trying to ignore the ship groaning around them, the shouts of the crew, the flashing red lights painting the inside of his eyelids. He focused on the intense cold-hot energy flowing from Xyler's hands, the electric thrum of the zhao. He tried to push back. No, resonate with it like tuning a fork. He felt Xyler draw a deep breath, and the energy surging from her intensified tenfold. It felt like grabbing a live power line. His muscles locked, his vision whitened. He could feel her immense power, her focus, her life force pouring into this desperate gamble. The colors beneath her skin, even seen through his closed eyelids, seemed to explode into pure, blinding white light. He felt his own energy draining, feeding into the circuit, but somehow also stabilizing it. He was the anchor, the ground wire for her biological lightning strike. A silent scream built in his mind as the energy peaked, then erupted outwards from Xyler in an invisible wave. The lights on the bridge died completely. All alarms cut off simultaneously. Silence descended, thick and heavy, broken only by their ragged breathing and the faint, distant pinging of stressed metal. Jake's knees buckled. Xyler swayed, her grip loosening. He caught her, pulling her against him as darkness swam at the edge of his vision. Her body felt unnaturally cold and terrifyingly still. The brilliant light under her skin was gone, leaving only the base obsidian color, dull and lifeless. Her antennae lay limp against her temples. Oh God, did I kill her? Your Majesty, Xyler, he gasped, shaking her gently. A faint shudder ran through her. Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused. A tiny flicker of violet sparked deep within her skin, then another. Status, she whispered, her voice barely audible. One of the bridge officers, fumbling with a backup light source, peered at a small, independently powered monitor. Enemy vessels, they're adrift. Systems unresponsive. Their formation is broken. A ragged cheer went up from the few conscious crew members. Xyler managed a weak nod against Jake's chest. It worked. The violet flickers grew slightly stronger, swirling feebly. Your resonance stabilized the discharge. Relief washed over Jake so hard he almost dropped her. We did it. He looked down at her, still cradled in his arms. The regal queen felt fragile, exhausted, vulnerable. You okay? Her dark eyes met his. There was pain there and exhaustion, but also something else. Gratitude, wonder. The energy depletion is significant, Recovery will require time. The violet on her skin pulsed faintly with each word. He carefully helped her into the command chair. She leaned back, breathing shallowly. He stood beside her, feeling drained but strangely exhilarated. They'd faced the scourge and survived together. The power dynamic had irrevocably shifted. He wasn't just the specimen anymore. Maybe we're something else. Recovery took time. The ship limped towards a designated safe zone, repairs underway. The scourge vessels had eventually reactivated their systems but retreated, unwilling to re-engage after the unexpected EMP-like blast. Xyler remained weak, confined mostly to her quarters, leaving her trusted second-in-command to oversee operations. Jake found himself adrift. His duties were suspended during the repairs. The nightly assessments had stopped abruptly after the battle. He missed them, which was deeply confusing. He missed the strange intimacy, the shared focus, even the awkwardness. He definitely missed seeing her. What now? Go back to being the resident alien lab rat. After 3 cycles of restless packing and feeling useless, he couldn't stand it anymore. He went to her quarters, dismissing the guards with a confidence he didn't entirely feel but which they, surprisingly, obeyed. He knocked softly. "Enter," came her voice, stronger than before, but still lacking its usual authority. He stepped inside. Xyler was seated near a viewport, gazing out at the starfield. She wore simple gray robes and the colors on her skin were muted, mostly soft blues and lavenders swirling gently. She looked peaceful but tired. "Sergeant Miller," she acknowledged, turning her head slightly. Her antennae gave a weak quiver. "Your Majesty," Jake replied, shifting his weight. "Just wanted to see how you were doing. Heard you were recovering. And I kinda missed your weird light show." "The energy reserves replenish slowly," she said. "But the Zhao conduit you provided, it prevented catastrophic system burnout. My physicians are baffled by the interspecies synergy." She patted the seat beside her. "Join me." He sat, acutely aware of her proximity, the faint coolness still radiating from her. "Glad I could help, though I still have no idea what I actually did." "You anchored the energy flow," she explained. "Cathar bioenergetics require a feedback loop. Alone, the discharge would have overwhelmed my system. Your human resonance, surprisingly stable despite its fluctuations, acted as a regulator. It absorbed the backlash. So, human blushing and panic attacks are good for something after all," Jake quipped, trying to lighten the mood. A smile touched her lips again, a genuine one this time, making the lavender on her cheeks deepen. "Perhaps your species' expressiveness is a strength we underestimated." She paused, looking back at the stars. "The scourge will return. This victory is temporary. My people still need a home." "We'll find one," Jake said, surprised by his own certainty. "We work pretty well together, apparently." Xyler turned fully towards him, her dark eyes searching his face. The blues and lavenders on her skin began to swirl faster, warming towards violet, with flashes of the crimson he now associated with something more than just analysis. "The Zhao we experienced, Sergeant, it was not faint during the discharge. It was profound." Jake's breath hitched. "Profound," he echoed. "Among my people," she continued, her voice low, "such a strong resonance signifies the potential for Vorash." "Vorash? That sounds even more serious than Zhao. And Vorash is the deepest bond Cathar can form," she explained. "A merging of biosignatures, minds, purposes. It is rare, sacred, traditionally formed only after extensive compatibility trials and rituals." She hesitated. "It is akin to your human concept of soulmates perhaps, but biologically tangible." Jake stared at her, speechless. Soulmates. With the 7-foot-tall alien queen whose skin glowed and whose touch felt like ice and electricity. Okay, maybe the inspections weren't just science after all. "Our connection," Xyler said, reaching out slowly, hesitantly, "defies Cathar understanding. An interspecies Zhao leading towards Vorash. It is unprecedented." Her fingers brushed his hand. The familiar cool tingle shot up his arm, but this time it felt less like an assessment and more like a question. He didn't pull away. He turned his hand, letting her cool fingers rest against his palm. Her skin flared with vibrant violet and crimson. His own heart hammered against his ribs. "So," Jake said, his voice a little rough, "unprecedented, does that mean bad?" "It means unknown," she whispered. "Our biology, our customs, they did not prepare us for this." She looked down at their hands, her thumb brushing against his skin. Cathar bonding, the Clinar merge, it requires precise biosignature alignment for procreation, for the full Voresh union. "The merge," Jake remembered her mentioning it before. "You said mine was different." Here comes the "it can never work" speech. "Different, yes," Xyler confirmed. "But the resonance, the synergy we achieved, it suggests compatibility on a level we do not yet comprehend. Your human biology, it does not impede the Zhao. It seems to amplify it in unexpected ways." "Amplify it, so we're biologically weird together. Somehow that tracks." The air crackled with unspoken tension. The ship hummed around them, a cocoon in the vastness of space. Her nearness, the memory of the energy surge, the implication of Voresh, it was overwhelming. "Xyler," Jake began, using her name without the title for the first time. She looked up, her dark eyes wide, the colors on her skin blazing. He didn't know what else to say, so he leaned in. Her lips were cool, surprisingly soft against his. It wasn't explosive, not at first. It was hesitant, questioning. A discovery. He felt the hum of her antennae intensify, the vibration traveling through her jaw against his cheek. The colors on her skin pulsed against his peripheral vision, a dazzling, intimate light show meant only for him. She responded, her initial surprise melting into curiosity, then something deeper. Her hand tightened on his, the Zhao buzzing between their palms. She tilted her head, deepening the kiss, her cool lips exploring his with an alien grace that was somehow utterly perfect. He slid his other hand around her waist, pulling her closer. Her body was firm, resilient beneath the soft robes and blessedly solid after the near catastrophe. He felt the swirling patterns beneath the fabric, a tangible heat beginning to build beneath the surface coolness, radiating outwards. She made a soft sound in her throat, a low hum that vibrated through his chest. Her own hands came up, one tracing the line of his jaw, the other resting against his heart, undoubtedly feeling its frantic rhythm. "Your signals," she murmured against his lips, her voice husky, "so strong." "You're not exactly subtle yourself," Jake managed, nodding towards the light display currently happening on her face and neck, fiery crimson blending with electric blue. She pulled back slightly, her dark eyes searching his. "This Voresh, it is not logical, not traditional." "Since when has anything about us been logical?" Jake countered, brushing a stray strand of hair from her temple, careful of the sensitive antennae nearby. "We started with you wanting to poke my blushing skin." A genuine laugh escaped her, startlingly musical. The colors on her skin shimmered with emerald green and gold. A crude beginning, perhaps, but the Zhao does not lie, Jake Miller. He liked the way she said his name. He liked the way her skin felt, cool and vibrant. He liked the weird hum and the light show. He liked her. "What happens now?" he asked quietly. "With the Clinar merge thing, the biological differences." Xyler's expression grew serious again, but the fear wasn't there this time, replaced by thoughtful determination. Cathar tradition speaks of aligning biosignatures. Perhaps our alignment is different, not based on identical frequencies but on resonance. Harmony, not unison. She met his gaze. Perhaps the merge is not impossible, merely novel. Her hand moved from his chest, tracing the line of his collarbone down towards the center of his chest. Her touch, though cool, sent fire through his veins. "Your body," she whispered, her antennae quivering intensely, responded strongly to the energy transfer. It adapted, accepted the Cathar frequency. accepted it, or just didn't explode. And yours, Jake replied, his hand tracing the swirling patterns on her arm, feeling the warmth growing there, seems to like the human frequency just fine. The air thickened, charged with the energy between them, the undeniable pull of the Zhao, the promise of Vorash. The differences, the initial incompatibility, suddenly felt less like barriers and more like possibilities, unique pathways to connection. She leaned forward again, her forehead resting against his. He could feel the delicate vibration of her antennae against his skin. The traditional merge involves a direct exchange, melding biofields. Sounds intense, Jake breathed, his own body humming in response to her proximity. It is the culmination of Vorash, she confirmed, but perhaps the beginning can be simpler. Her fingers brushed his lower lip. Perhaps understanding begins with exploration. He didn't need a Cathar dictionary to understand that invitation. He captured her hand, bringing her cool fingers to his lips before meeting her mouth again. This kiss was deeper, more certain, acclaiming. Her response was immediate, fierce. She pulled him closer, molding her body against his. The coolness of her skin was a stark contrast to the heat building within them. The light under her skin pulsed rhythmically now, syncing with the beat of his heart, a dazzling, intimate display of their shared arousal. He fumbled with the fastenings of her robe, needing to feel more than just the fabric against his hands. She helped him, her cool fingers surprisingly nimble. Beneath the robe, her skin was flawless, the swirling colors even more vibrant against the obsidian darkness. It felt like touching living starlight, cool and smooth, yet radiating that inner heat. Her anatomy was different, subtly so. The lines of her body were longer, leaner. Her skin hummed with that constant energy. When his hand brushed against a cluster of particularly bright, swirling patterns just below her ribs, she gasped, arching against him. Her antennae vibrated wildly. "There?" he asked, his voice thick. "A nexus point," she breathed, sensitive. He explored further, learning the landscape of her body, the places that made the colors flare brighter, the spots that drew soft, humming gasps from her. She did the same, her cool hands mapping his decidedly human, overheated skin with intense focus, her touch sending shivers down his spine that had nothing to do with temperature. The initial incompatibility melted away, replaced by a unique synergy. Her coolness tempered his heat, his warmth seemed to ignite her inner light. The differences weren't obstacles, they were points of fascination, sources of unexpected pleasure. The slight vibration of her antennae against his neck as she kissed him, the way the patterns on her skin flowed and pulsed in response to his touch, the sheer alienness of it mixed with the universal language of desire, it was intoxicating. This wasn't just physical. It was the Zhao made manifest, the Vorash beginning to take root. It was two vastly different beings finding a common ground, a shared resonance that defied logic and tradition. It was the queen and the sergeant, the Cathar and the human, finding their own unique merge. Later, lying tangled together on the seating cushions, the only light came from the starfield outside and the soft, contented glow of Zyler's skin, now swirling in languid patterns of deep blue and warm gold. Her head rested on his chest, one cool hand resting over his heart, her antennae twitching occasionally against his shoulder. "The Klinar assessments," Jake murmured, stroking her smooth back, "are definitely going to be different from now on." Zyler tilted her head up, a soft smile playing on her lips, the gold on her cheeks deepened. Indeed, more thorough. He chuckled, tightening his arm around her. They still had challenges. The scourge were out there. Her people still needed a home. His own future was completely uncertain. But right now, none of that mattered as much as the Cathar queen curled up against him, her skin glowing softly in the dark. So he thought, mirroring his initial confusion but with a galaxy's worth of difference, nightly inspections are now mandatory bonding sessions. And my vascular reactivity apparently jump-started an interspecies soulmate situation. Never thought being shirtless would lead to this. He looked down at the alien queen resting against him, her strange beauty more captivating than any starfield. Damn.